To order. Daisy, can you, that the Kansas Open Meeting Act required notice has been properly provided?
Yes, I can confirm the packet was posted and the required notice was provided.
Thank you, Daisy. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Alt, Commissioner Sydow, Commissioner Rogers,
Here.
Commissioner Mike Sell,
Here.
Commissioner Farber,
Here.
Commissioner Van Covern,
Here.
Commissioner McFadden,
Here.
and Chair Waters.
Here.
So with 6 out of 8 members, we have quorum and we can proceed with business.
Okay, thank you, Daisy. Are there any corrections to the minutes of the September 16th meeting? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Make that motion.
Second.
Been moved to second to approve the meeting minutes of the September 16th meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we will move into new business. Application CU 25-4.
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. I am going to pull up a aerial photo of the request area, and what we have is we have a conditional use permit that is being requested and proposed by the garage for the former Abner's Auto Building, which is just north of the existing garage holdings, or what has been the garage holdings. So it's the southwest corner of Iron and 4th Street. And the garage has purchased and acquired the property, and they are in the process of basically connecting the building, their existing building, the existing car museum building, to the former Abner's Auto Building. And so you have some renderings here that show that proposal, and the former Abner's Auto Building, they're proposing to have a accessory dwelling for a traveling educator, instructors, people that can come in and assist and provide opportunities for the public in the museum. So people that would come and educate and have different programming opportunities for the garage. The regulations require that accessory dwellings, or dwellings that have dwellings on the first floor, be a conditional use permit. So typically in the downtown area, there are residential dwellings that occur on the second floor of many of our downtown buildings. Those are permitted uses. Anytime we have an accessory dwelling or dwelling on the first floor, it requires a conditional use permit and a review by this board. So that kind of describes why we're here and what we're talking about. A quick, brief, kind of surrounding context of the site. I'll pull up a zoning map, and the surrounding area is all C4. So this red hashing that you see is all C4, which is our central business district. To the north, you have Bennington State Bank office building. To the south, you've got the existing garage facility. To the west, you have the former Flower Nook property, and then to the east, you have the River Channel, and then also Burger King on the east side of the River Channel, but you can't really see the Burger King because of the channel and all of the trees. So really the eastern boundary is the river here. The Abner's Auto Building, the former Abner's Auto Building, was originally constructed in 1931, and it operated as a filling station and garage until 1957. And during that time period, it became associated with Champlin Oil. And in the 1990s, the site was renovated by Abner Perney and his wife, Catherine Perney. And in 1999, there is an existing Champlin Oil sign that became historic and is part of the property. And recently, the Heritage Commission reviewed the renovation and restoration of that sign, and recently the Downtown Design Review Board also reviewed the proposed renovation of the building and the proposed addition that would connect the former Abner's Auto Building with the garage. So that's kind of the brief history of what's occurred recently. The proposal that is being proposed by the applicant I got it on the wrong slides here. Shows that there will be brick repair and repainting done on the Abner's building. There is also be window and exterior lighting replacement. There is the repair and replacement of wood and infill areas, including the siding and trim. There's also paving repair and replacement, and potentially electronic vehicle charging station will be housed in a historic gas pump. And there's also roof repair and replacement involved. And that's for the former Abner's Perney building, and that also includes interior renovations that would house the residential dwelling that's being proposed. In relation to that, but not necessarily part of this conditional use permit, the garage is proposing an addition that would feature brick veneer walls to match the existing garage entrance, black horizontal ribbing that you see in the photograph here, or the elevation drawings, and metal panels on the west facade, aluminum glass overhead doors matching the existing garage doors on 4th Street that the garage museum has, and then signage that's consistent with the garage's main entrances today. And you see a picture of that here towards the top of the screen on this graphics here. The zoning ordinance is the C4 district, which is our central business district. That particular zoning district allows for 100% lot coverage and doesn't require setbacks or off-street parking. And so the proposed garage addition that would combine the former Abner's Auto building and the proposed dwelling inside of it with the existing garage building would be consistent with all of the C4 district regulations. Again, as I mentioned, on October 23rd, the Downtown Design Review Board approved a certificate of compatibility for the proposed exterior changes to the building, and the Heritage Commission met on October 29th and approved a certificate of appropriateness for the historic Champlain sign refurbishing that is being proposed. So the project would meet all of the zoning regulation requirements. And looking at the conditional use permit and the criteria for approval, when we look at the welfare and convenience of the public, the applicant states that the apartment would enhance opportunities for the garage's educational programming and events. Staff would agree with that and would note that accessory live-work units support the downtown's mixed-use character and provides temporary housing for visiting professionals. When we look at the impacts of the surrounding neighborhood and the character of the neighborhood, the applicant states that residential use is historically existed on this site, and the site will have a single family unit which would have a minimal impact on the surrounding area. Staff finds that the apartment is small in scale, compatible with the surrounding commercial uses, and will not dominate the area. The site has existing utilities, and the proposed use would not add any additional burden to the utility system in the area. The site, in terms of traffic, access, and parking, the C4 district does not require accessory parking for residential dwellings that are accessory to a principal use. And there is parking available on the streets around there, as well as public parking lots in the vicinity. So the alternatives that the Planning Commission would have is, 1, to approve the conditional use permit as submitted upon findings of compliance. Number 2 is to approve with conditions or plan modifications. Number 3 is postpone if additional information is needed. Number 4 is to deny the proposed conditional use permit if you believe it would have a negative impact on the surrounding and nearby properties. Staff's recommendation would be number 2, which would be to approve the proposed conditional use permit with a condition, and that condition being that the construction and use of the apartment shall substantially conform to the plans on file with the planning department. So the plans that are being presented would be what the applicant would be required to construct. And with that, we would take any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you, Destin. Do any commissioners have questions of staff? Okay, hearing none. Would the applicant like to share any information?
Good afternoon. I'm Charles Renz with Jones Gillum Renz Architects. Just a little bit about the project. You know, the existing building that was there, the entirety of that building is not used for the residential piece. It is just a kind of a small area over at the north end. The original building, you know, contained a kitchenette type space that is really being retained as is. There was a bedroom area and a bathroom up on the second floor. So the primary work scope of change is just a little bit friendlier bathroom up there, you know, that is a little bit more generous. And then also construction of the bathroom down at the lower level for for accessibility, so that we have an accessible bathroom. So the intent is that bathroom would be shared by both the use of that building and any kind of residential use that would be in there. So it would be more short-term type residential use, but it's a pretty small portion, as Dustin said, that is used for that piece of it. But beyond that, if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to try to answer them. So.
Okay, do any commissioners have questions for Charles? Okay, thank you,
Okay.
Charles.
Hey, thank you.
Dustin, is there anyone online?
I don't think we have anyone from the public online, so anyone that's interested from the public would be in the room. I would note something, or two items really, that I didn't mention in my presentation that are important, and that is that the code that allows for accessory dwellings on the main floor requires that the dwelling not be at the main entrance, which this is not. The main entrance is the same main entrance that you go into the garage facility today. So even though it may be accessible from the main floor, it's not off the main entrance. And the second requirement is that the dwelling unit, can't exceed 25% of the floor area of the facility or of the building. In this case, we're a little over 1%, so it is pretty small compared to the rest of the garage museum. So those are two things that are important that I should have noted but didn't. So.
Okay, thank you, Dustin. Is there anyone here in the room that would like to address the commission or staff? Okay, hearing none, I'll bring it back to the commission for discussion or a motion.
Dustin, I do have one quick question. You said staff recommend option 2 in our packet. How does that differ from option 1, except for adding the recommendation at the bottom?
that would be the difference, is that option 2 would have the recommendation. Okay. Option 1 is just approve as requested without any special conditions attached to it.
I didn't know if we needed to have that specific code that is listed in number 1 referenced. Or
No, I don't think you need to. It's just that specific code is specific to the conditional use permit process. That's what allows you to approve it. Okay. But just approving it with the recommended condition, I think, would be sufficient in a motion.
Thank you.
Was that a motion, Commissioner?
Do I need one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Madam Chair, if there's no further discussion, I would move that we approve this conditional use permit with the recommendation listed on page, I believe it's page 5 of that report.
Mm-hmm.
I'd second that motion.
Okay, moved and second to approve this application. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Hold on until I get there.
25-4.
25-4. Thank you.
Can we read the title? Madam Chair, Planning Commissioners, thank you for hearing this item. Wanted to get this in front of you. What we're here today to discuss is a resolution, which is 25-01, which would modify conditions number 2, 3, and 5, and we'll get into those details, of the March 21st, 2023 approval of application PO3-4D for Lot 2 of Overlook Estates. This would allow the issuance of a building permit for vertical construction prior to completion of the second looped public water line connection to Markley Road and prior to issuance of the certificate of completion for all required public improvements, with the certificate of occupancy withheld until both requirements are satisfied. So, to add to that a little further, there are 14 conditions in which you approved this plat with. The three that we wanted to discuss today are condition number 2, which requires completion of the second looped public water line before vertical construction. Condition 3, which requires paved streets and an operational water system, including the loop, before any building permit can be issued. And condition number 5, which requires a certificate of completion, which comes from Public Works, for all required public improvements prior to any building permit. Since plat approval, internal public streets, water lines, and the fire hydrants serving Lot 2, and actually serving all 11 lots, have been constructed and are currently operational. What is missing is the loop that would create that goes back to the main street. These improvements will provide adequate fire flow, hydrant coverage, and emergency access to support vehicles, particularly 75,000 pounds of a fire truck. So those are usually our standard requirements. The reason for this for this request is the only outstanding improvement, which is that public loop, has been delayed due to easement acquisitions and construction outside of the property owner's control. So the property owner is requesting limited relief for Lot 2 only, allowing building permit to be issued so construction may begin. Owner acknowledges that a certificate of occupancy would not be issued. So that means somebody can't move into the house, which is really the purpose of not allowing somebody to live someplace without that full looped water line, because in case of emergency, if there's a break, when we have a loop, you can secure water and make those repairs faster. So no one would be living there, but it would allow for vertical construction while that loop is getting constructed. And I should note that the construction of that last part of the water loop is actually city construction. So that's also not on the owner. We're having to secure those easements and do that construction. And as I mentioned, there have been some challenges there. Staff finds that minimum safety requirements have been met. It is pretty standard practice for us in a subdivision, particularly phased ones, where the developer will get the roads in so they can support a fire truck and EMS can find the house. And fire hydrants are working that will let vertical construction start. Certificates of occupancy would not be issued for those homes, of course, until all internal construction or infrastructure construction is complete. This is basically using that same practice on this particular property. The way the resolution is written is it only applies to this one particular property. It's not saying that this just opens up the whole subdivision, but it does allow an opportunity for the Planning Commission to consider that this particular property owner is ready to go. We still have more time needed to construct the full loop, but you have fire hydrants, you have streets, we have access, which is what we would require for vertical construction in most of our other subdivisions. And again, the resolution specifically outlines a certificate of occupancy would not be able to be issued until these infrastructure requirements are met. This also creates a situation in which if any other lot wanted to do this, it can't just happen automatically. That too would have to be coming back to the Planning Commission. Since these are conditions, staff felt it was necessary to write this into a resolution so you could see that whole piece and to be very specific to the lot that it applies to. So if any other conditions or changes were made, we would have to come back to the Planning Commission. From a procedural perspective, this actually doesn't change the plat. All the components in which you approved as part of the platting process are there. This is done in a resolution because you're just noting in this circumstance, this piece and this action is exempted from those conditions in which you put on the plat due to these restrictions. But it keeps all your other conditions in place for all the other lots. So with that, staff has laid out several alternatives, but we are recommending option number 1, which is to adopt Resolution 2501. which, as presented, gives findings for the modification for Lot 2 as reasonable and preserves public safety and the intent of the original conditions while allowing the property to pursue vertical construction. If the Planning Commission is not comfortable with that, you can always recommend amendments to the resolution. You could postpone consideration on this, or you could deny the request, and that would leave your current conditions in place. With that, I'm happy to take questions. I would also note that the developer and property owner are also here to take questions.
Okay.
Do
Thank
you have a
you.
time, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Do you have a timeline on when the loop might be finished?
Yeah, I should say our utilities director indicated she thinks that between acquisition and construction, we're hoping about a year. Which, when talking with the property owner, and I'm sure architect can also get more into this, but it will take about that amount of time to also go through the construction process of the home. So I think we're hoping that by the time they're through construction, the water line is about done and we'll meet at about the same time.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions of staff?
Will it be possible if you do not get the water loop constructed when they have somebody ready to move in, that there can be another variance put on to let that happen based on the city not performing their side of the contract? I hate to see that, and I hate to see it get
Yep.
fully developed, ready to move in, and the city still has delays.
I agree.
Because there's water there.
I can't guarantee anything. What I would say is it wouldn't be a variance. It would have to be, again, us discussing the plat and those conditions with you as a planning commission. I think if that were an issue, there are probably other remedies that we would have to deal with. And the owners and the developers are aware that there's a bit of a risk in this, that the loop may not be completed by the time they're doing construction, but, and I'll let them speak to this, but it was worth taking that risk so they could start construction.
Go ahead.
Is Lot 2 close to the old development, or is it pretty far away and down the street?
Yeah, it's relatively close. It's just the second lot in. So it is very close to the old development.
So here's the aerial photography of the area. The existing development that is River Run, the boundary is where I'm showing my cursor. I'll try to zoom in a little bit so you can see it better on the screen. So this is the existing development, and the Overlook Estates development would be the undeveloped platted lots. You kind of see the orange lines. The subject property is right here. So this would be the lot of the MacArthurs that they were looking to develop and construct their home on.
Is there just one home being constructed?
Yes. And the way the resolution is written, it only applies to that lot.
Okay.
Is there a chance that any of the easements cannot be obtained or anything like that, or is that?
There's a chance the easements maybe not be procured in the route that we desire right now. That may require that we shift routes or we go a different direction. I think from what I understand from utilities, we are very close.
Okay.
I think some way, somehow, we will figure it out.
So there won't just be a house built up there that will never get a water loop put to it at some point that'll.
Correct.
All right.
And I mean, that is why we typically write plat notes that don't allow this type of construction without those things being there or having more control over that. But I think after being approached by the property owners, this was the most viable way to do this. We feel from a staff perspective, the safety concerns have been alleviated, and the developers are aware there is a little risk in the timing here, but that's something that they're willing to take so that the project can move forward at that time.
All right. Any other questions of Lauren? All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Would the applicant like to share some information?
Good afternoon, and thank you for allowing us to be here today and considering this. Just a couple things to add, that yes, the streets are in. The fire hydrant is in. In fact, the hydrant very close to Lot 2 has essentially the same fire flow as the occupied homes less than a block away. The emergency access is in, so we are at or beyond what would normally be in place to allow vertical construction in town. So we're very confident in what is there and it being very safe to build out there. But would be happy to stand for any questions.
Are there any questions for the applicant?
If this is denied, and that's one of our alternatives on here, where do you stand as far as this process? Do you have to just wait until that loop is completed before you can start anything?
As with any situation, would have to consider what our options are at that point. You know, again, with streets built and a fire hydrant in place that's roughly equal to the fire hydrant a block away in pressure that's already serving occupied homes, one similar in size, you know, would have to consider our options. But yeah, I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Now, where I was going was there's a reason we have this in place.
Sure.
And the reason, I guess, is to protect you more than anything, or protect the developers more than anything. Sure. I would hate to see this backed up again, and as another commissioner said, you're waiting on the process. We all know there are delays in goods and services right now. On the other side, I'd love to see the vertical going. It's a preferred lot, and I think it would help out that area as well. But I'm kind of torn, you know, as to move forward with it, or to say, hey, let's pump the brakes a little bit and maybe revisit this in a little bit and see where we are down the line with the availability.
We are as concerned with the timeline as anybody. At the same time,
I imagine, yeah.
We're certainly under the understanding it would be there, and we have been given the assurance that they believe 1 year is a realistic timeline based on where they're at and what they've been able to do, and that they're very close. You know, it was budgeted 4 years ago in the city budget. They've made good progress, and so that assurance sits well with us. We're confident in what we have been assured and what they believe will happen, and confident enough to move forward. And again, the streets are in place, the fire hydrant's in place, the access is in place. There's nothing materially different than occupied homes a block away. So to not move forward would be seemingly, you know, an unnecessary roadblock to us.
Mr. Lee said the timeline for the building of the house is about a year as well?
A year plus.
Yeah. A year plus.
So we're confident that where the city's confident on their timeline to complete the water loop, that the time to finish construction will exceed that 1 year time. Absolutely.
Are there any other questions of Mr. Lee? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone in the room care to share any further comments or information? Okay, Dustin, is there anyone online?
We do not have anyone from the public online right now.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, I open it up for discussion.
Ms. Driscoll, could I ask one more question of you?
Yes.
I appreciate the whole situation that's going on here, but are we setting a dangerous precedent where we can go back and forth on this, where we're going to have more applicants come forward with this in the future?
In the future, as far as this subdivision goes, or any subdivision?
In general.
I think particularly for this one, they're very unique, 11 unique lots.
Absolutely.
They're large, they take a very particular style of owner, and I don't think you're gonna have a lot of people doing that. And I don't think we'll do a lot of this in the future. I think one of the things that staff's discussed in looking at this verbiage is, yes, utilities need to be in. And I think the remoteness of trying to get this second loop, what our attempt was in providing those conditions was providing that assurance, and we still are providing that assurance, but you have a property owner who wants to take the risk. Is there a way to do that? Yes. They've asked for that. We can say, from a safety perspective, they are safe enough to build. If something happens out there, we can say that you can get to them. That's always our number one concern when construction occurs. Can the fire truck get there? Can they get their hands on water? The answer is yes. Are the roads safe enough to pass? In fact, an emergency access road is also available there. In this case, you have an applicant who wants to move forward and wants to take the risk that their timing of completion might be different than the city's timing of completion. we are already down the path of securing and have secured some of the access to getting the route. We plan on securing the rest of it, and budget has been already secured and is set aside to build the loop. So, I mean, we are doing that. Also, the other thing is in most subdivisions, we're not building those other pieces. In this case, we are. If you guys remember, this is a pretty old subdivision that had a lot of pieces to it over the years. So I would hope we don't do a lot of this in the future, but the applicant asked, what are our options? We're ready to build. We've waited 2 years for the loop. It's not in. The option is, the way the plat is currently written, we can't issue a building permit for them. You can go back to the body, in this case, Planning Commission, and say, hey, it's safe. We would not live in this until that infrastructure is complete, and they're here testifying that they're willing to take that to what you were saying, Commissioner Farber, that there's an inherent risk in this, but they're willing to proceed, and we have the backstop of a certificate of occupancy that says, you know what, you can't inhabit this until that full safety measure has been reached.
This really wouldn't be setting a precedent, though. We've done this before in the past. And, yeah.
And it's, I mean, especially from the community public safety perspective, this is pretty normal for us.
Yeah.
I think Dean was very thorough in his conditions, and for a good reason, that it is important to always have looped water line. But I think the timing and the unexpected duration that it's taken to get the acquisitions in place has made that timing a little difficult. And this isn't something that happens very often, but any applicant has the right to come back to the Planning Commission and say, we understand why those conditions were put in place. Here's what that situation looks like now. And I think that's why we wrote this in a resolution and wrote it specifically for that lot. So we're not creating a precedent for the whole subdivision.
And I very much appreciate that. It's well-written, and I think it covers everybody involved with that, especially with the CO and everything. But even as both of you just stated a moment ago, there's a reason that these are put into our plats. There's a reason for those to be put in. I appreciate the owner willing to take that risk, and again, that weighs into my decision as well. But no, thank you. I know I may be rambling now.
No,
so
it's good.
thank you.
And that's one of the reasons we did a resolution versus just a singular motion.
Right.
That gives the Planning Commission some assurance that when they approve this, it was very clear, like, what factors went into that and now what happens. So it's pretty specific both for you and for the builder to know, like, this is as far as you can go.
To one of your previous points, say the house is built and everything like that, and then we come back with another resolution like, hey, this is where we are now. To his point, hey, a block away, they have the same pressure. Can we just, maybe we just be able to move in or something like that? Can that be? That's what I don't want to happen, I guess. I don't want it to be like, hey, we come back later. It's only a block away. There's a fire hydrant, it has the same pressure as all these other houses. We don't have the loop, but that's going to get taken care of. And then you can move in or whatever like that. I don't want to give a stepping stone to that point, I guess. But
heard and understood. I don't think staff wants to either.
Okay.
I think everybody's pretty invested in the water loop getting finished. But I understand that's part of the Planning Commission's consideration for sure.
What is the delay on getting it looped?
It's
Sorry to interrupt. Commissioners, can you just make sure your microphones are turned on? Thank you.
What is the delay for the city on?
the delay has primarily been acquiring the access easements to get the
Okay.
loop
Okay.
secured.
And I'm sure there's other neighborhoods that don't have a loop system in the fire hydrant system.
Actually, that's pretty rare these days. Most of our new infrastructure, all of our water lines loop. It's one of our biggest priorities
Okay.
for public safety.
But there is water there, there's good pressure there with the hydrant. It's a block away to a loop system, correct?
Yes, but the loop system a block away doesn't necessarily impact the public safety component for that remaining part of the subdivision. It does have a line that has good pressure right now, and when you're in construction phase, it would be enough if the fire truck had to pull up and heaven forbid there was a fire truck had to use the hydrant, they would have what they need to deal with the fire. But as far as like day in and day out of people living there and needing to have access to clean water, if there was an issue without the full loop, that doesn't create the safety situation in which we strive for.
Okay.
So just as a reminder, because it's been a while since the Planning Commission originally approved this subdivision, the loop that we're talking about would loop the water line that's been installed for Overlook Estates. It would loop it down to the south and across the property here, all the way to the water line in Markley. So that when we talk about the loop, we're talking about looping back into Markley to the east and across these properties here, and then into the north to connect into Overlook Estates. So when we talk about the loop, that's what we're talking about. And the challenge thus far has been getting and acquiring the appropriate easements to get all the way from Markley to Overlook Estates. And then once that's completed, then construction can begin and it goes smoothly from there.
Thank you, Destin. Are there any other questions for Lauren? Okay, thank you. All right, commissioners, I open it up for discussion or a motion.
Well, I feel confident. I don't think this is going to be a YouTube and Disney kind of a thing for the city, but I feel confident they'll get this worked out, and the applicant has said that they're comfortable with not having a, I'm trying to say, to get moved in until the loop is in place. So I'd make a motion that we approve application 25-01 as presented, number 1.
I'd second that.
Been moved and second to adopt resolution number 25-01. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, staff, we will move into the review of projects proposed for the 2026 Capital Improvement Program.
All right.
Quick, Dustin. For Daisy's sake, can we, by a show of hands, have the ayes and nays? So we have those that voted in favor, aye. Thank you. And then nay. Got it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So every year, one of the tasks of the Planning Commission is to review the Capital Improvement Program. And the Capital Improvement Program is a budgeting tool that the community uses to establish what our main priorities are for improvements throughout the community. And that CIP, as we call it, is usually like a 5-year plan. So when we do a review with the Planning Commission, we look at the next year, which is the one that would be funded and ready to go in 2026. But then we also look at the next 4 years after that. And so to make it somewhat brief, when we do a review, we will just go through and look at the various project titles, and then at the end we can have any discussion that you might have. And we do have representatives from Public Works to give us any details that you might require or to talk about and answer questions with. So the 2026 projects, they're sales tax projects. The first is the Hike Bike Trail, which appears every year, and it's the continual annual completion of annual segments of the trail improvements. So every year the city does continual trail improvements to extend our hike bike trails, street surface improvements, and then capital improvements as part of the Parks Master Plan. And so those would be the projects that would fall under sales tax projects. Then we have cash supported projects, which includes wayfinding signs in the downtown area, the Brookwood Trail pedestrian bridge, 9th Street and Ohio Street traffic signal, and then a culvert at Northwood and Fairdale to improve drainage. And then we have the comprehensive plan and zoning code update, which will impact this body as the Planning Commission is involved in any kind of comprehensive plan reviews and updates, as well as zoning code updates. And so that would be a big project that could potentially affect you moving forward. Property tax debt supported projects, Ohio Shilling Roundabout, it's the design phase only. East Magnolia Bridge replacement, again, the design phase only. East Magnolia Road improvement, design phase. And then repainting the North Ohio overpass. The overpass was constructed in 2005, so it's a little over 20 years old and needs some additional maintenance there. Berkeley Family Recreational Area runway repairs. And then enterprise fund projects, dirt and old landfill, landfill scales and construction, the airport water main replacement construction, and those are all of the 2026 projects. In total, a little over 15 million. And getting into future projects that would take place beyond this year, in 2027, we have sales tax projects, again, hike and bike trail, which is an annual one that we do, the continuation of those trails and the construction of them, street surface improvements, and then additional improvements according to the parks master plan. Cash supported projects, we have updating and replacing our wayfinding signs throughout the community. Property tax debt supported projects, we have Cloud Street road improvements, the design phase only. East Crawford Road Bridge widening construction. We have West Magnolia Phase 2 and 3 construction, 9th and Waterwell Signal or Roundabout construction, Ohio and Shilling Roundabout construction, East Magnolia Bridge replacement construction, East Magnolia Road improvement construction, and then we get down to enterprise fund projects, which is the landfill cell 6 design only, water line improvements, and then that would conclude the 2027 projects. 2028 projects, again the same three sales tax projects with the hike bike trail, surface street surfacing, parks phase 4 improvements, and then for tax debt supported projects we have the Cloud Street road improvement construction, East Iron curb and gutter pedestrian path, the Gateway sign project, which has been on and off historically, and the Planning Commission has had dealings with that in the past. Enterprise fund projects, the construction of landfill cell 6, and the additional dozer for cell 6 operations. And that is the conclusion of the 2027 projects that have been identified to this point. 2029 projects, again, the same three that we typically have. And then we also have enterprise fund projects for a water line improvement. And then into 2030, the same ones that we typically have. And that would conclude 2030. So as we get further out, there are less projects that have been fully identified or ready to go. And then there's also a list of identified and funded with variable schedule partnership projects that we have on the list. So with that, if the Plan Commission concurs that the majority of the public facility and public utility projects identified in the 2026 CIP are located in the existing service area and or areas identified as primary growth areas of the city, a motion should be made to approve the attached resolution and endorse the 2026 CIP list. After reviewing the list, the Planning Commission may wish to provide comments to the City Commission about any particular projects it believes are especially important to the growth and development of the city. And so what that means is if you have any questions about anything on this list, we do have Public Works here to talk about it. If you agree with the list, then you could make a motion to that effect. And if you have any suggested strong feelings or comments that you would like to attach to any of the projects, you may also do that for the City Commission to consider.
Okay.
Staff or Public Works would answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you, Destin. Commissioners, are there any questions of staff or the Public Works team?
I have a question. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Does the resolution include the projects for future review? Or is that for discussion at a later time?
I believe it is going to include those that have money tied to them. So when we went through the list, you'll notice that I believe that would include all of the projects that have money tied to them, or capital improvement budgeted for them, or capital budgeted for them. And so when we went through the list, you noticed rather, that every year there was a list of projects, and under each of the projects there's a budget assigned to the project. And so the CIP and the resolution would be tied to those monetary amounts that are estimates for those various projects. Did that answer the question?
Yes.
Okay.
I see costs associated with it, but this is pretty far down the line. I wasn't involved in this one, so I don't. I'm good with the schedule for next year.
Okay. All right, Justin?
I have a question on the North Ohio overpass painting. Is that the bridge, like maintenance to the bridge as a whole, or is that just stripping and painting for the bridge that's $1 million?
Commissioners, Jim Kowatch, city engineer. The bridge painting, the $1 million bridge painting project is just to power wash, do some light sanding, and then put new coating on all of the green rails on the bridge and the approach lighting, the specialty lighting that's on either side of Ohio. But it's just to do the painting portions of it that you can see. The actual bridge itself is weathering steel underneath, so it doesn't require painting.
Okay, yeah, I just didn't know if there's any other maintenance or anything involved in that. I didn't get a chance to drive by, but the just Google Maps view, it looked like there was one section that had like a hole in it or whatever. Would that be something that would be fixed, or it's just power washing and painting?
And then this project is just for the power washing and painting, which is pretty specific. As far as routine maintenance, deck maintenance, or that particular bridge, we've had to do some work on the approaches with them settling over time. That'll be done either out of our operations budget or with our own staff.
Okay. Is this city crew, or is this hired out to somebody?
This would be hired out to a specialty contractor.
Okay. It just seems like $1 million is a lot to just power wash and paint.
It's all over the railroad, which means you have to contain everything you're doing and not drop down on them. So.
Okay, so there's safety.
A lot of safety
that requires all
and containment requirements.
Okay.
I think you said it was about 20 years old now. Would this last another 20 years approximately?
It would be expected to last 15 to 20 years. The paint system that was applied in the 80s is a non-lead based paint, so we don't have to do the extreme capture of all of the sandblasting and debris. But at the same time, those paint systems, those vinyl chloride paint systems, only last 15 or 20 years. That if you walk it right now, there's visible rust on all the mesh when you walk close to it. And there's some, like you said, Commissioner Rogers, there's some maintenance that needs to happen on the pedestrian path along that bridge too, but that's not part of this project.
Anything that has like design only on it, is that just the Ohio and Schilling roundabout design only part? Is that just hey, we're gonna kind of lay this out and see what this looks like, or is it maybe a signal is better there, or is it just, hey, we're gonna design the roundabout and that's what's gonna move forward?
Yeah, we're actually in the request for qualifications portion of that right now so that we can have that teed up and ready to go next fiscal year. The first phase of that is always to look at the traffic and determine if a signal or a roundabout would be the preferred option. It says roundabout, but there's so much rush hour traffic right now that the eastbound and northbound movement, a left turn, a roundabout typically handles that a lot better than a signal. So we think it's going to be a roundabout, but we won't know until we actually get the traffic studies, much like we did at 9th and Waterwell.
Right. Some people are triggered roundabout, so I just wanted to clarify that was.
It's going to be studied. It's not decided.
Yeah.
And actually, for your information, the preferred option is going to the City Commission for 9th and Waterwell on on November 10th, so
Okay.
for
We
more
won't-
discussion.
Sorry, we won't see that one at all for that, or
No,
just city?
it's going straight to the city commission.
All right. Any other questions of Mr. Kowach?
I'm not sure who this needs to be addressed to, but I just noticed with the total funding for these projects, I know 26, we're at 15 million. 27, we're at 32 million, and then it comes back down to 15 or 16 for the next year or two. Is it just because we haven't addressed the projects that are coming in the future, or is that, why is 26 so much lower than 27, I guess?
Well, part of it's a backlog. The projects that were supposed to be designed in 25 and built in 26, we actually didn't get those design contracts out until mid-year. So instead of design in 25 and build in 26, a lot of those, because we started so late in 25, by the time we get the design work done, move utilities and buy right of way, we won't actually get to start them until 27. So to prevent that in the future, we've got the 26 projects teed up and ready so the contracts can be awarded first thing next year. But they're bigger projects, so they will likely take the full design year, 26, and then it'll probably be mid to late 27 when we actually get those under construction. So
All right.
does that explain your question?
I was just curious if it was an aberration or if it's something we could expect to see for 28 and 29, or is
No,
it
no,
just-
these were projects that have been, ever since COVID, we got kind of balled up and we're trying to get stuff going, and because of the discovery phase and discussion, and then particularly just the time it takes to buy right away, we've had some projects back up that should have been done a couple years ago.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions of Mr. Kowach? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone else in the room that has a comment, or anyone online?
We do not have anyone online. I will note that because you just approved resolution number 25-1, that this would be resolution number 25-2 if you choose to approve this resolution.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, I open it up for discussion or a motion.
I'll throw a motion out there. Seems like everybody's quiet tonight. I would make a motion that we move forward and approve resolution 25-2. Is that correct? 25-2.
Correct.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved in second to approve resolution 25-2. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, commissioners. All right, staff, is there any unfinished business? No?
We do not have any unfinished or new business for today's meeting. We do have agenda items for the November 18th Planning Commission meeting, so we will be meeting on November 18th.
Okay. Thank you, Gage. All right, I open it up for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Oh, is there any public, one more time, Dustin?
See, we got to do it. I get you.
Okay.
No, there's no one
Okay,
online and
right.
no one in the room, but it's always good to check.
Okay. All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.